There is a town in North Carolina where your odds of having your stuff stolen this year are 1 in 10. Not 1 in 100, not 1 in 50, 1 in 10. And the real estate agent who showed your cousin around there last summer, the one who called it up and coming and full of Southern charm, she knew. They all know. The tourism board, the Chamber of Commerce, the relocation guides ranking North Carolina the second best state to move to in 2026. They will all happily sell you on the Smoky Mountains, the Outer Banks, the Biltmore Estate, and the brewery scene in Asheville. What they will not mention is the 448% above national crime rate sitting one exit off the interstate. They will not mention the town where Hollywood filmed both The Color Purple and Evil Dead 2, because mentioning it means mentioning what it looks like now. They will not mention the marching band that wears kilts in the city with the highest violent crime rate in the entire state. This list is not the brochure version of North Carolina. This is the version locals talk about at the kitchen table and then quickly stop talking about when out-of-towners walk in. 12 towns, 12 reasons. Subscribe, because the rest of this is what the Chamber of Commerce hopes you never search for. Let's get into it. Every October, Statesville fills its sky with hot air balloons. The Carolina Balloon Fest is one of the oldest in the country, drawing tens of thousands of people who stand in a field, point upward, and forget for a weekend that they have problems. Now the rest of the year. Statesville's overall crime rate sits around 48 per 1,000 residents, giving you a 1 in 21 shot at being some kind of crime victim before the next Balloon Fest rolls around. Violent crime fell from 210 incidents in 2023 to 150 in 2024. Good news. But homicides quietly went from 1 to 4 in the same window. Less good news. The reason Statesville keeps popping up on these lists has nothing to do with Statesville being some lawless backwater. It is the address. The city sits right where Interstate 77 meets Interstate 40, which makes it a fantastic place to live if you are a moving truck, and a less fantastic place to live if you are a moving truck full of methamphetamine. Property crime here is not random. It is logistical. Statesville is a hub, and hubs attract the kind of people who find hubs extremely useful. So yes, watch the balloons. Just maybe lock your car while you are standing in the field. And hit subscribe. We have got 11 worse to go. This is the town that gave America the Lucky Strike cigarette. Reidsville native Charles Ashby Penn perfected the blend, coined the slogan "It's Toasted," had the factory built right here. And by the time he died in 1931, the world was lighting up 40 billion Lucky Strikes a year. Locals started calling Reidsville Lucky City, then the factory closed. The luck left with it. Today, Reidsville's violent crime rate sits at 988 per 100,000, about a 1 in 102 shot, and property crime is 1 in 27. Overall crime is 107% above the national average. The good news, if you can call it that, is the rate fell 26% in 2024. The town is climbing back up. Slowly. The poverty rate is 21.1%. Per capita income is around $24,000. When a town's entire economic identity gets unplugged in a single decade, you do not just lose factories, you lose grocery stores, you lose pharmacies, you lose the kid who would have grown up to open the next factory. What replaces it is whatever can survive on what is left, and what survives is usually not great. Like this video, if you have ever lived in a town that lost its main employer and watched what came next. Number 10 is even smaller, and even louder per capita. This is a town of about 4,700 people, where the local museum hosts an annual cockroach race called the Roachingham 500. That is not a joke. Children watch live cockroaches sprint down a tiny track at Bugfest South every September. It is also one of the most quietly bizarre tourist draws in the South. It is also a town where your odds of being a property crime victim are 1 in 13. Whiteville's total crime rate is 8,509 per 100,000. About 301% above the national average, driven almost entirely by theft and break-ins. Violent crime, weirdly, is mild. 0 homicides in 2024. The overall rate fell 35% year over year. So picture this. You move to a town where the violent crime is low, the murder rate is 0, the museum races cockroaches, and the largest Carolina Bay lake in existence sits 15 minutes away holding fish species that exist nowhere else on Earth. Sounds great. Then you go to the gas station and someone steals your car. That is the Whiteville bargain. Low chance of getting hurt, astronomical chance of losing your stuff, 20.7% poverty rate. Median household income around $31,000. The crime is not violent. It is desperate. Drop a comment. Would you take that trade? On to number 9, where the population is just as small, but the violent crime catches up fast. In 1985, Steven Spielberg rolled into this tiny town of 5,000 people and shot The Color Purple in a field of imported purple cosmos flowers. A year later, Sam Raimi showed up and used the same farmhouse as the production office for Evil Dead 2. They built the cabin interiors inside the local junior high gym for $500 a month in rent. Two of the most iconic American films of the 1980s were filmed in Wadesboro, and then Hollywood left. What stayed behind is a town with a violent crime rate of around 2,037 per 100,000 people, about a 1 in 50 shot at being a violent crime victim. Property crime is 1 in 14. Overall, Wadesboro runs 343% above the national crime rate. In a town of 5,000, that is not statistical noise, that is structural. Anson County is one of the poorest counties in North Carolina. The police department is small, the offenders tend to be repeat offenders, and what looks like a sleepy Main Street is a place where a December 2024 home invasion got solved by DNA evidence, because the suspect left some at the scene. That is the energy. If a town that birthed Whoopi Goldberg's Oscar nomination and chainsaw arm horror cinema cannot catch a break, what hope is there? Subscribe. We are nowhere near done. On November 27, 1962, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stood in the gymnasium of Booker T. Washington High School in Rocky Mount and delivered the first recorded version of his I Have a Dream speech. 9 months before the March on Washington, the reel-to-reel tape sat forgotten in the local library until 2015, when it was rediscovered and digitized. This is also the birthplace of jazz pianist Thelonious Monk and Negro Leagues legend Buck Leonard, and, somewhat less prestigiously, the first Hardee's restaurant. The crime rate is around 47 per 1,000 residents, a 1 in 21 shot at being a victim. Violent crime sits near 971 per 100,000. The city is split between Nash and Edgecombe counties, runs about 20.6% poverty, and has a median household income around $41,000. Interstate 95 cuts through the middle. The city has ShotSpotter active because regular policing alone could not keep up with the gunfire. Now here is the Rocky Mount paradox. The town that helped Dr. King find his voice, that produced Thelonious Monk, that watched Buck Leonard hit baseballs into orbit before Major League Baseball would let him near a roster. That town has fallen into a slow-motion struggle the same interstate that connects it to the world keeps reinforcing. Drugs flow up 95, people flow down, money flows out. The historic Edgecombe County side has been hit hardest. The Nash County side, less so. If you have to live in Rocky Mount, pick your side carefully. Like this video if a town's history has ever made you root for it harder than its statistics deserved. Number 7 is where the opioid crisis still has its hand on the throttle. In 1865, Confederate troops scuttled the CSS Meuse, an ironclad gunboat, in the river to keep it out of Union hands. A century later, they raised the shell out of the muck and put it on display. It is the only recovered Confederate ironclad you can walk up to and touch. Kinston is also where funk saxophonist Maceo Parker grew up before he joined James Brown's band. NBA forward Brandon Ingram is from here. So is Mother Earth Brewing and the PBS series A Chef's Life, which was supposed to be the start of a downtown comeback. Then the 2024 numbers came in. Property crime up 30% year over year. Total crime up 26%. Violent crime up 7%. The overall rate sits near 59 per 1,000, giving you a 1 in 17 chance of being a victim. Lenoir County posts one of the highest crime rates in the state. The driver is not mysterious. Kinston sits in the slow-motion epicenter of the eastern North Carolina opioid epidemic. When tobacco died and textiles died, what filled the vacuum was pills, then heroin, then fentanyl. The economic engine left. The pharmaceutical engine moved in. The local police department announced in 2024 that their numbers actually fell, but that was partly because they changed how they count incidents, which is a different thing than crime falling. The ironclad has been raised. The town is still trying to follow it. Drop a comment with your guess for number 1, and stay through to the end, because the answer is not who you think. This is the city where you will see a Strike Eagle fighter jet screaming overhead at 1,000 feet. Seymour Johnson Air Force Base is right here, hosting the Strike Eagle fighter wing, which makes Goldsboro one of the loudest small cities in America in the best possible way. Nearby you have got the historic Waynesboro Village and the Cliffs of the Neuse, which is exactly what it sounds like. You also have a violent crime rate of 1,076 per 100,000, a 1 in 93 shot at being a violent crime victim. Property crime sits between 5,100 and 5,800 per 100,000. Total crime runs about 227% above the national average. 15 homicides in 2024, down 2 from the year before. The base creates a transient population. Young military families rotate in and out every 2 to 3 years, leaving behind a landlord economy that runs on short leases and turnover. That kind of economy is not bad on its own. It just gets exploited. Motor vehicle theft is elevated. Property crime is elevated. The kinds of crimes that prey on people who do not know the area yet, and who will be gone in 18 months anyway. Goldsboro PD did get one win in 2024. Gunshot alerts dropped 43% after they reactivated a special enforcement unit. So progress is real, it is just slow, and the fighter jets overhead, while undeniably cool, are not actually patrolling the streets. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. Number 5 is where things stop being charming. The nickname is Fayette. That is what locals call it, that is what veterans call it. And that is what it was called for decades because of its proximity to Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, and the city's reputation for absorbing whatever happens when you put one of the largest military bases on Earth next to a mid-sized southern city. The crime statistics back the nickname up. Violent crime rate of 978 per 100,000. 1 in 103 shot at being a violent crime victim. Property crime 3,457. Total crime 91% above the national average. 35 murders in 2024. But here's the part you will not hear in most videos. Fayetteville's violent crime fell 25% year over year. Homicides dropped from 53 in 2023 to 27 in 2024, a 10-year low. The trend is good. The base footprint is huge. The city has the Airborne and Special Operations Museum, a downtown that is actually worth walking. And the Market House, a controversial National Historic Landmark with a complicated past nobody is pretending does not exist. So, is Fayetteville dangerous? Yes. Is it as dangerous as it was a decade ago? No. Is it improving faster than almost any city on this list? Also yes. The problem is, when your starting line is Fayettenham, improvement still leaves you on the list. Comment below. Would you live in a city that is fixing itself, or do you want the fix already finished? Number 4 is where the murder capital title still applies. Just outside of town sits Kerr Lake, the largest lake by surface area in North Carolina, nicknamed the Satellite of the South because of how it looks from above. 50,000 acres of water, 3 states, more shoreline than you can drive in a day. A spectacular place. Henderson itself? Less so. The violent crime rate is 1,792 per 100,000, the second highest in North Carolina for cities over 10,000 people. Property crime runs about 58 per 1,000, 1 in 17. Overall crime sits near 76 per 1,000, giving you a 1 in 13 chance of being a victim. 4 homicides in 2024, down from 6 the year before. The city has been called the murder capital of North Carolina for years, and the data has stubbornly cooperated. The driver is economic collapse, plain and concentrated, 29.8% poverty rate, median household income around $31,900, unemployment near 5.9%. Federal ATF prosecutions out of the Eastern District of North Carolina target Henderson with specific frequency. There are documented gangs, documented drug trafficking, documented multi-year violence patterns that the courts cannot seem to break. And the surreal part is that 10 minutes from any of this, you can be on Kerr Lake with a fishing rod and a sunset watching the sky do something biblical, completely cut off from what is happening in town. 2 Hendersons share the same zip code. One is calm, one is statistically the second most violent city in the state. Whichever one you visit is up to whoever is selling you the house. Hit subscribe. Number 3 has the highest violent crime rate in all of North Carolina. And you have probably never heard of it? Welcome to the City of Beautiful Trees. That is the official nickname. And it is not exaggerating. Laurinburg has spent decades cultivating a tree canopy that makes downtown feel like a different climate from the rest of the Sandhills. The town leans hard into its Scottish heritage. The high school marching band wears kilts, actual kilts. They play Scotland the Brave at football games. St. Andrews University is right down the road. It is a charming, distinctive, civically proud small American city. It is also where, in 2024, the violent crime rate hit 1,894 per 100,000, the highest in North Carolina for any city with more than 10,000 people. Not in the top 3, the top 1, higher than Lumberton, higher than Henderson, higher than Fayetteville. The competing video that ranked the 10 most dangerous cities in North Carolina did not even mention Laurinburg, and that is partly because the numbers are recent and partly because the algorithm has not caught up with the kilts. Property crime is 1 in 20. Total crime runs 227% above the national average. 10 homicides in 2024, up from 5 the year before, a 16% jump in overall crime. Year over year, every line item is moving in the wrong direction. A local pastor told reporters in 2024 that the situation at night was, quote, like a war zone. He described drive-by shootings, rival gang activity, homes shot up 19 times in a single week. Scotland County is among the poorest in North Carolina, and Laurinburg sits at the center of that poverty. Picture this: a spring evening, the pollen-thick light filtering through that famous tree canopy, the sound of bagpipes drifting from a high school football practice 3 blocks over. A real specific kind of southern beauty. And then the sun goes down, and the sound from 3 blocks over is no longer bagpipes. That is Laurinburg in 2026. Two cities sharing the same zip code, only one of them shows up in the brochures. Share this video with that one friend who still thinks small town automatically means safe. Number 2 is the largest city on this list, and the most surprising entry. This is Bull City, officially named for Bull Durham's smoking tobacco. The American Tobacco campus downtown, with its enormous Lucky Strike water tower still standing, is now one of the most successful adaptive reuse projects in the South, full of restaurants, tech startups, and the Durham Bulls ballpark right next door. Here is the deeper trivia. The baseball term bullpen likely came from this town. Bull Durham tobacco advertisements ran enormous bull-shaped signs in the outfields of stadiums across America. And if a player hit the bull during a game, they won $50. Pitchers warming up congregated near those signs. The bullpen, that is the origin, Durham. But the Durham of 2026 is two cities glued together. One is the Duke University, Research Triangle, Foodie Magazine cover story Durham, booming, gleaming, expensive. The other still carries the scars of the 1990s crack epidemic and decades of disinvestment in specific neighborhoods. The line between them is sometimes a single street. Violent crime rate is 625 per 100,000, a 1 in 160 shot. Property crime is 3,903. Overall, you get a 1 in 22 chance of being a crime victim. 37 homicides in 2024, 485 robberies, 1,188 aggravated assaults. The PD's own report shows violent crime flat year over year and homicides down 19%, but property crime up 4%. Here is what nobody who works in tech downtown will say out loud. The danger does not visit them. It does not visit the campus. It does not visit the restored warehouse loft district. It visits specific zip codes that the prosperity has not reached, and the gap between what is happening at the brewery and what is happening 4 miles away keeps getting wider. Picture this, a Tuesday night in downtown Durham, the Lucky Strike Tower glowing, a jazz trio at a wine bar, couples walking dogs along the American Tobacco Trail. 4 miles away, a different Tuesday night entirely, same city, different worlds. Like this video if you have ever lived in a city with two versions of itself. Number 1 is the one you came here for. In 2017, 3 women, Rhonda Jones, Megan Oxendine, and Christina Bennett, were found dead within blocks of each other in Lumberton. The cases remain unsolved. Since 1989, at least 13 people have vanished from surrounding Robeson County with no resolution. In 1988, 2 Tuscarora Native American men walked into the office of the local newspaper, the Robesonian, and took 19 hostages. Their demand was a federal investigation into drug trafficking and sheriff's department corruption. That is not the worst part of Lumberton. The worst part is that the corruption probe they demanded eventually happened, Operation Tarnished Badge, and it led to 22 firings from the sheriff's department alone. Lumberton's total crime rate is 11,620 per 100,000, 448% above the national rate, 396% above the North Carolina rate. Property crime is 9,944, giving residents a 1 in 10 chance of being a property crime victim every year. Violent crime is 1,677, 1 in 60. Motor vehicle theft alone is 1 in 122, among the highest rates in America. 10 homicides last year, 52 homicides per 100,000. The driver is geography. Lumberton sits at the crossroads of Interstate 95 and Interstate 74, the main north-south drug corridor on the East Coast and a major east-west feeder. DEA agents call the route through the Carolinas cocaine lane. The DOJ's National Drug Intelligence Center calls Interstate 95 the major north-south transportation corridor on the East Coast, providing ready access to wholesale drug markets such as Miami and New York City. That sentence was not written by a thriller author. It was written by the Department of Justice. Picture this. A late summer evening in Lumberton. The cicadas are loud. The Lumbee River moves slow. The exits off 95 hum with the long-haul truck traffic that built this town and broke it at the same time. Somewhere in a parking lot off Roberts Avenue, 3 families are still waiting for an answer that has not come in 9 years. Here's the honest update. Robeson County murders fell to 15 in 2025 from 41 in 2023. Something is shifting. Whether it shifts fast enough to flip Lumberton off this list is a question for next year's video. And there it is, 12 towns, 12 reasons the brochures lie to you. The pattern, if you look across all of them, is the same. Geography, poverty, and the slow death of an industry the town never recovered from. Crime is not a personality trait of a place. It is the outcome of decisions made decades ago by people who do not live there anymore. Like this video, if any of these towns made you reconsider a move you were thinking about. Subscribe, because next week we are doing South Carolina, and at least one entry is going to shock you harder than Lumberton did. Share this with the friend on Zillow tonight scrolling through North Carolina listings, completely unaware that the cheap house they just favorited is on the wrong side of one of these zip codes. Stay smart, stay subscribed, and whatever you do, do not move to a town just because the photos look good.